This podcast is part of the Big Heads Media Podcast Network. Go to bigheadsmedia.com for more great podcasts. Well, hello everyone. This is Massive Late Fees Dumpster Diving, where we go into the horribleness of 70s and 80s television shows. I guess every once in a while we might... I guess the A-Team was definitely 80s. So far we've done 80s and 90s. Maybe one day Mike will take a step back to Charlie's Angels or something like that.
Probably not.
The thing is, it's hard to find those shows. It's hard to find shows from the 70s that are streaming anywhere. Unless they're, the prestige shows like All in the Family or something.
We watch Beretta, maybe? Or was that 60s?
No, I think Beretta was early 70s, early to mid-70s, I think. Yeah, we could...
Man, I don't remember which one it is, but did you ever hear the Norm Macdonald story where he's just... I think he was on the Jerry Seinfeld Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee one. Mm-hmm. Where he's describing watching, what's the one with the guy with the lollipop? Is that
Kojak, yeah.
Yeah, I've never seen any of those shows. Or Mannix, one of those. And he was describing, like, the guy, there's like a new, detective. He repeatedly described as green. And he goes, this girl's, let's go ahead and get her home. He goes, yeah, let's go ahead and take her home and get her ready for mom. She's a whore! Just the way he said it was hilarious. I'm like 99% sure it's at least on that Jerry Seinfeld Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee with Norm.
Yeah, I think you're right. I remember that one. I was living in Vegas when that came out, actually. I remember very specifically, and don't try this at home, kids, but I remember very specifically driving to go get food for my wife. The kids were asleep. My wife and I were getting a late night snack in Las Vegas, and I had it on. I wasn't actually watching, I was just listening to it, but I had it on my phone while I was driving, and I was... I felt like I needed to pull over at one point, even though I wasn't watching it, because I was laughing so hard at Norm.
Yeah, there are some really good parts of that one. I really enjoy that show in general.
But we're not here to talk about good stuff.
No, we're here to keep current with Mike.
We're here to talk about the final episode of ALF.
I would say it's more of the penultimate episode, Mark. Would you say that?
Yeah, I guess that's true, because there was that... What was it called? Ground Control to Major ALF? I don't remember what it was called. There was a movie that came out in 1996 that tried to resolve the plot line of this mess.
It was like ALF Coming Home or something, or was that the name of this episode?
I'm sure I'm going, or I guess I'm gone, or I can't remember what it was called.
Now I'm just hearing like an ALF-centric version of a Ground Control to Major Tom in my head.
Just ALF singing about a cat.
Melmac.
Yeah.
And eating cats.
Consider Me Gone. That's what it was. That was the name of this episode. The 1996 movie was called Project ALF.
That's it, yeah. Man, don't you wish you were like this age in the 80s? Just sometimes you could make some really funny jokes. Like, man, that guy gets more than ALF. You know what I'm saying? I can't say the word.
Yeah, I guess that is offensive to say, but yes, that would be a hilarious joke.
Unless it's in the heat of passion.
Yeah, I really wish that if there were reasons of all the reasons to go back in time, that is probably the best one, is so that I can make puns about ALF.
Well, you're the person who said that if you could go back in time to any era, it would be to see Van Halen with David Lee Roth.
That's true. I did say that.
It wasn't Kill Hitler. He didn't want to stop 9/11. David Lee Roth.
I feel like if I tried to kill Hitler, like Norm Macdonald, maybe I'd get mesmerized by it. This guy's making a lot of sense.
Jeez.
No, I'm just joking. Stalin killed more.
Okay, Adam, you get...
But anyway, so...
Oh my God.
Yeah.
To derail this even further...
Okay.
There's on the episode of Norm Macdonald Live... Oh, by the way, Norm, I guess, is coming out with another YouTube show in January, he's saying.
Oh, thank God.
So I think the Netflix, after he had his, quote-unquote controversy, they just, dropped him altogether. I don't think the show's on there anymore or anything.
I know,
it's kind of messed up because it was a huge anticipation. He took all his Norm Macdonald Lives off of YouTube, and then, bam, here we are.
Yeah, and those shows were gold on Norm Macdonald Live.
Yeah, they were really good. I completely lost train of thought, and I have no idea what I was talking about.
He's going to have a show back in January coming back, he said.
Yeah, I think it was. I think that was a tangent off the original tangent.
Oh, okay. It's tangents upon tangents.
Yeah, when I listen to this later, I'll hopefully remember what I was going to say.
Well, just shout it at your phone, and that counts. That counts as bringing it up.
Yeah, that's true.
Just text me what it was when you're listening to it. Oh yeah, I was going to talk about this, and then I'll be like, "Oh, it would have been funny. That would have been gold." That's what happens. That's why the shows aren't that good, people, because all the gold happens off air. Mike and I listen back, and then we talk. We go back and forth for about an hour and a half. Like, oh, we should have said this. Should have said this.
Yeah, it's a shame, quite frankly.
Yeah, well, maybe that'll be a Patreon. You guys can have access to our phones.
we'll just edit it so it's funny.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, so this episode opens up with Alf deciding that he has figured out the way to make money. He's got a racing form in one hand, and he's trying to contact Australia on the CB or whatever.
The shortwave radio kind of thing. You know, the thing
Yeah.
I've only ever seen in TV/movies.
Yeah, exactly. I think maybe he's trying to talk to a dead family member on it, or that's what happens in all those movies.
Yeah, that's true. I guess in real life though, there's this one station that you can get that's like a weird like Russian like intelligence like agency type thing. It'll just randomly like read like numbers in like Cyrillic, you know, like every so.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
So, I mean, that sort of ties into what happens in this episode. I mean, not with Russians, but
not really.
But
yeah, so Alf's on the shortwave.
Yeah, and he's trying to contact Australia because it's the next day in Australia, and he wants someone to look at tomorrow's LA Times and tell him who's going to win the race so that he can win.
He's got a racing form in his hand.
So he feels like I mean, obviously it's a joke about how dumb he is or he doesn't understand. Willie tries to explain. It's the most half-assed explanation ever. Willie tries to explain to him for a second and then just gives up. Is like, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, either Willie like has like the patience of a toddler, or he just thinks Alf. First of all, why do they call him Alf? They know his name. It's Gordon Shumway.
Yeah, I know. And the thing is his name is American sounding.
Yeah. Actually, I have a theory about this. I have a theory that the name Gordon is a very Canadian name. I wonder if there's Canadians involved here.
Huh. Gordon does seem like a really Canadian name. Gordon Lightfoot was Canadian.
Yep. Gordon Downey of the Tragically Hip.
That's correct.
Tom Green in the movie Freddy Got Fingered named his character Gordon.
True.
Or they call him Gord. I don't think I've ever heard an American named Gordon or Gordy.
I can't
Gordie Howe obviously is a great
Yeah,
Canadian.
he was Canadian, correct. Yeah, I can't think of a single American named Gordy either. Huh. Well, yeah, okay, Gordon, we got Gordon Shumway, yeah, Canadian. And like you said,
Yeah.
good theory about Canadians being involved, but yeah, it's weird that they call him Alf. It's like a slur.
It's really odd. It's like, hey, it's like them calling him New Guy for 4 years.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it would be like if the show New Girl, they just called her New Girl the entire time instead of her name, whatever it was. Zoe Deschanel. So
Maybe they do that. I've never seen such a show.
it's probably Butterfly Flower Petal Child. I don't know. She's one of those dream pixie girls, you know.
What?
That's what.
Can I just step into a James Ellroy novel real quick here?
It's they call them.
She's a whore. Is that where this is going?
They call them manic pixie dream girls or whatever.
What's funny is I thought you were talking about the show Mannix because we were talking about detective shows earlier. I'm like, Mannix? What the hell are we talking about here?
Mannix. Who was that again? It's damn it. I wish I could remember his name. The guy that was Mannix.
I don't know.
It wasn't the guy whose head got cut off. Vic Morrow.
Jeez, it could have been.
He was on Combat. That was the show. I'm Mike Connors. Yeah, that was his name, Mike Connors.
But Vic Morrow should have tried out even fake combat, apparently.
Yeah, I guess so. But
rest in peace.
yeah, rest in peace, and the two children that you were holding.
Yeah, them too.
So anyway, even though they weren't famous, so
Oh, they were after.
yeah, that's true. They were.
Not that I know either of their names.
They were the subject of a hell of a trial. But anyway, so look into Vic Morrow if you want to, and Jennifer Jason Leigh. That's his daughter. And
Is it really?
yeah.
Oh, that's weird.
But anyway, so where were we? Oh, we were at the very beginning of the episode.
These fucking Canadians.
Right. So
And by the way, so far I've looked into it, not a single Canadian involved.
interesting, huh? What's the name of that guy that did he was ALF and he like created the show?
Oh, that guy is insane. Paul Fusco.
Yeah.
Fusco, Fusco. He's American.
Oh, okay. Italian sounds like.
Yeah, it could be. But yeah, he is. We need to preface this a little bit because I'm sure anybody who's our age, we're in our late 30s, early 40s, has seen ALF. They're familiar with it. But for those who aren't, this is a puppeteer named Paul Fusco.
Yeah.
This basically found he had a bunch of puppets lying around. He's like, oh, that one looks like an alien. And if you actually saw ALF, you would realize he doesn't look like an alien at all. I don't understand what he looks like, but he looks like a Muppet, if anything.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's this really oddly popular sitcom. It was, for it was funny. They actually only had 99 episodes, so maybe that's why it's not syndicated.
Yeah, that's true.
Which is 100, 100 is like the magic number. They only get to 99 for some reason.
Yep.
But I don't think the show is ever syndicated as far as I know. It's weird. There are a lot of shows that just came out and they never, yeah, we don't need reruns of that. This was kind of one.
Yeah, I've never seen it in reruns.
It's the most quintessential, TV show of the 80s. It's just so odd. The writing is terrible. Mm-hmm. The acting is very bad.
Yep.
I think the directing is good. The only reason because it's good is because there were deadly traps all throughout the set.
Right.
Every peer on camera, he had to peer through a trap door kind of thing. And these things weren't properly secured. People were just falling in them all the time. It was ridiculous.
Yeah, it was. OSHA didn't exist back then, so it's it would be a nightmare now.
Especially there were two child actors on the set.
Yep. Yeah, basically in the 80s, almost every show that came out was either a really well-written... I mean, any show that came out that lasted for a while was a well-written family sitcom or a family sitcom with a gimmick. It's Small Wonder. It's a family sitcom, but one of the kids is a robot. Or ALF. It's a family sitcom, but they have an alien.
I imagine these were the exact pitches they got to get this show.
Oh, for sure.
Was just the whole show is about this alien guy who's a puppet, and he being hilarious, and he's not even funny. And I think we mentioned this a couple weeks ago. There was a show I was watching. It was Charles in Charge. That was the cult episode that I accidentally watched half of.
Yeah.
The laughter is obviously not pre-recorded, and it's they're just fucking dying, and that's how it is in ALF. He doesn't say a single funny fucking thing in the entire thing.
Yeah, So I don't understand if humor was different in the 80s and I've just forgot, or if they're gassing these audiences or what.
Or if they went to the Moron Factory again.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing is when you drive around West Hollywood and you're like, hey, you want to go see ALF? You pull up to a group of tourists and say you want to go see ALF. Anyone that gets in your van is basically an idiot.
So you were cruising West Hollywood, is that what you're saying?
Oh, all the time. Me and Madonna.
Nice.
She likes picking up young boys. So do I.
Oh, I hope you cut that out and send it to me.
But anyway, so...
But yeah, so it's a terrible show to begin with. Mm-hmm. And then the only thing that the show gets right is that the mother and the daughter kind of look alike. I could see them as being an actual mother and daughter.
They do, yeah, they do a little bit.
But the daughter kind of looks like Justine Bateman, so she's the most generic, 80s, older sister character.
Yep. And she used to have braces, and then her braces came off.
I don't remember that. I guess the show was only on for 4 years, so I mean, it was kind of weird. The boy, I don't remember Brian. That's his name, Brian. And ALF like spawned like a huge industry. There were comic books. There was like a cartoon show.
I believe it
there was
aired. I
lots
believe.
of, like,
I believe it that the cartoon show aired right after the Donnie Darko and Friends cartoon show.
nice. But yeah, I remember I had a comic at some point, and they're just like, it was very odd how expansive the ALF universe was. Much more complicated than the Marvel universe, and probably better written as well.
But it was like a huge. It was weird how popular it got. There were toys at Pizza Hut and stuff like that. Like little. I remember going to Pizza Hut and there was a time when the pizza companies, for whatever reason, were trying to compete with McDonald's and things like that. So they'd have toys when you got a certain amount of pizzas, or if it was like a family meal or something like that. And they gave away little ALF like puppets basically. And I remember I had a couple of them. And I was so like, I loved them. After that cold open of him trying to get the Australians, they a code starts coming through, and he's all shocked, and Max writes, we've talked about him before and his exploits. But he's like, "What's that?" And maybe he thought that it was the sound of the crackle of crack pipe.
That's funny. I was gonna say of the bag crinkling as someone pulls out the rock, but you got to be better than that.
But anyway, so he's like, "What's that?" And
he's like, "Do I hear the roar of a butane lighter on here, Alf?"
Is that a what's that off screen? Is that a black man and a white man taking off their shirts?
You can say at least you can say that Max Wright is not a racist.
Correct. He has equal opportunity.
See, it's funny because I really don't see that he did anything wrong there. I mean, I personally wouldn't smoke a bunch of crack.
Correct.
And I personally wouldn't have a all-male multicultural threesome. But I mean, if that's what I mean, who's he bothering in this case? That's what I'm asking.
Honestly, I totally agree. I don't think that it's a good idea to smoke crack because of the harm that it can do to your body. Although I don't know,
a lot of that is propaganda. I mean, if you see the material people give out and saying what people who smoke marijuana do, they run people over in drive-thrus and shit. I mean,
right.
if that's clearly fake, then what can you say about all the other misinformation we've been?
Well, that's the thing too. Is I was talking to when I used to work at a casino. I worked with several black people because the casino was mandated to, and I think they probably just wanted to as well. Although, who knows with the owners of the casinos if they would have or not. But they were mandated to hire a certain amount from the city of Detroit, and which was great because it helped employ some people. It was definitely a good job. So I worked with a lot of black people there who grew up in the city, and during the 80s and like the late 80s, early 90s when we grew up, unfortunately there was a pretty bad crack problem in the city. And I remember talking to one of the women that I worked with, and she's like, I'm starting to think that crack is some sort of like human preservative, because like I'll go back to the old neighborhood sometime. Those same crackheads are still out there. They look the same. It's like, how have you not died 25 years later and you're still smoking crack? And I'm like, yeah, that's an interesting point.
See, it's probably not. It's probably not more lethal than like regular cocaine or anything.
Right? Yeah, I'm sure it's not.
And there's like additional penalties, which if you get the same amount of drug, like if it's in a crack rock form, you get like more years on your sentence in some places, which is ridiculous.
Yeah. The whole thing's ridiculous. Mike and I are both. So I think I can speak for you. Mike and I are pretty firmly in the camp of drugs being legal, and if people have problems, if people have addiction problems, they should be able to get help, of course. But there's no reason if someone isn't. If you decriminalize it and people aren't, robbing somebody, or, if they're not committing another crime in the hopes of getting money to procure their drug, which they wouldn't. The incidence of that would be much less if the drugs were decriminalized. But if they're not doing that, if they're just doing drugs in the privacy of their own home, who cares? It's not hurting anyone else.
Yeah, don't be dumb.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, anyways, Max Wright's looking at Alf. He probably wonders what I was wondering. What kind of a dumbass is Alf? I mean, he flies on a spaceship, but he doesn't know about the international date line.
Exactly. He doesn't understand. He understands the concept of interstellar travel, but not the concept of relativity of time.
Are all the planets in his system like square? I don't understand that.
Exactly.
But then he immediately is able to decrypt code off the top of his head, even though he thinks Australia's in the future, I guess, or the past.
Yeah,
I don't know.
exactly. But yeah, so
he thinks they're in the future. Yeah.
So this code comes through, and he says it's a Melmacian code, and it sounds just like regular old Morse code to me.
Yeah.
But anyway, so he says, it's his friends. I guess we've met these friends in other episodes. I'm guessing. I don't really remember.
I don't know.
But
they have really goofy names. They all have perfect English or Canadian names.
Yeah.
Gordon. Wasn't it Bob and Sheila or something like that?
Yeah, I think it was Sheila and Rick Moranis or something.
Probably.
But anyway, so they say that they're coming back to pick him up. They bought a new planet, and they want him to come there. So the one joke that he makes that I would consider, actually he does make several jokes. They're not good, like Mike said. None of them are funny, but there are several attempts at actually traditionally structured jokes. But the rest of the family comes in and they say, how can you just buy a planet? And he says that they got a good deal. It was on a foreclosure, so their planet was getting foreclosed or whatever. It doesn't make a lot of sense, although it makes me wonder. I guess there were. Obviously there were a lot more foreclosures after the housing crisis, but I guess there still were enough foreclosures for that joke to fly in the 80s to play to middle America.
I guess.
But so the thing is and it's funny because this episode, I mean, it's dumb, but it kind of flew by, or it seemed like it flew by. It really did. Not a lot seemed to happen in the episode, and there was almost no weight to, I guess maybe because we knew what the outcome was going to be, but there was almost no weight to, is he going to go or is he going to stay? And it seemed to go really quick because it's just okay, I've got to decide if I'm going to go or stay. And the mom is very excited for him to leave after 4 years.
Yeah, the mom seemed, I don't remember this watching it, but the mom just fucking hates Alf.
Oh, absolutely. I think maybe that's her cat.
See, I think Alf is really a complicated metaphor for some issue that Willie's having.
Yeah. It's something it's something going on with their marriage. It's
Alf hates cats. I hate cats.
Yeah.
If you catch my drift.
But we know that Max Wright doesn't like to eat cats.
No.
He's.
Oh, by the way, my wife has probably been screaming at the radio. And by radio, I mean YouTube clip.
Right.
For the past 30 minutes, Gordon Gano of the Violent Femmes is American. I'm 99% sure. So we have a Gordon.
Oh. Ooh. All right.
Gordon Hayward.
We've got a Gordon.
In case you're wondering, I am looking at a list of people named Gordon, and there are very few from the United States.
It's a very Canadian name. Even if it's not universal, it's very Canadian. It's like Atlantis.
They think it originates in Scotland or Ireland, so that probably explains, why, because, a lot of Canadians have that kind of ancestry.
Yeah.
That and white bread. I think Canadians might be the whitest people possible. What do you think?
Ooh, interesting. So I think,
or it's either that or obviously Scandinavia.
That's I was gonna say though. That's who they'd be challenging is the Scandinavians.
Or I guess Britain too, but Britain kind of like us has a lot of a bunch of shit culture,
The thing is I think Scandinavians they're almost like they're
Like aliens.
Yeah.
Like ALF.
exactly. They're almost not even white because they're so different. You know, they eat the lutefisk and shit like that.
Yeah, and they do so little and contribute so little to the world, but just reap so many of its benefits. It's just maddening, if you ask me.
And
I mean, there are wealthy countries that are able to, take advantage of this technology and medical breakthroughs and stuff, and widely apply them to their small cultures. But I mean, what did they invent? Those big giant dogs that die in 5 years? Thanks.
snowshoes, maybe? I don't know.
Probably Canadians. No, actually, I think Native Americans are the snowshoes.
Oh, good for them.
Unlike those people over in Norway who invented.
Glaciers?
What did they invent?
Yeah. Big shout out to our friends in the Netherlands that are the last respite against Scandinavians pouring all over Europe.
See, the Netherlands, that's really a country that's got it all right.
Yeah.
A lot of people ride bikes.
Exactly.
They have license, able to use, like, I think it's just like marijuana and hash. But, they realize that adults are going to do this and it's relatively harmless. They have a red light district.
Yep.
Dutch.
They
Use that
invented
word.
Dutch doors. Like
Dutch is a cool nickname, Like, if someone calls you Dutch, like, yeah, that guy's all right.
Dutch apple pie.
You know who was nicknamed Dutch? Elmore Leonard.
That's true. So what happened with Al?
You wouldn't catch some fucker named Gordon, with that nickname Dutch. So yeah, I think the problem with this episode is I don't really care at all what's happening here. I don't think anybody does. I don't think the writers care, the actors care. It's like the least frightened. Like the signal gets intercepted by an American intelligence. I think that's an ongoing thing in the show. Like they're almost like a shit version of Decker from the A-Team, where they just kind of occasionally show up, oh, I think I see an alien.
Yep. That
And
one.
hey, that alien looks like a hot guy.
Exactly. That one guy was on Seinfeld later. He was.
Yeah, I recognize someone. Maybe that was I don't know.
He was Elaine's boss, at Pendant Publishing.
Oh, okay.
He's the one that
I
got
don't know.
sick and wouldn't shake hands with the Japanese investors and then blew the deal. By the way, is that
I am not a Seinfeld fan at all. I have no idea if you're talking about real life or the show.
is that the most cliched thing from the late 80s and 90s is your job is to impress Japanese investors?
No, I remember a lot of it. Oh no, the boss is coming over for dinner.
Yeah,
Can you imagine, in this modern age, hey, you're my manager. Why don't you come over for dinner?
Be like, what the fuck's wrong with you?
You're fired. That's sexual harassment.
Why would I ever want to see you outside of work?
I want to see you inside work. No
But-
one wants to see anybody they work with.
So Alf decides that he's gonna go. They have a dinner where they give him a bunch of shit. The girl gives him a necklace with what is it? Elvis Presley and Mary Tyler Moore from a movie.
I don't really understand.
Yeah, it doesn't make much sense to me. Then they give him a piece of the garage that he destroyed when he got there. This was not supposed to be the last episode of the show.
Yeah, that's a big part of this. It was like they thought they would be picked up for another season. There's some joke in, joke in there I don't quite get. When he's like, oh, look, a stick. Does Al fetch sticks or something? I don't really understand. Because there's a laugh there? I don't understand why. I think I'm missing something.
I don't get it either. Did they
haven't
treat him
delved
like a
deep enough.
dog at some point?
I don't know.
He looks like the cross between a mutt and an anteater.
Yeah, he definitely looks like an anteater.
But anyway, so he decides to go. They're gonna meet at midnight. The alien task force finally decodes Morse code and figures out what's happening.
They figure out what it took some moron to figure out in 5 seconds.
Exactly.
What kind of accomplishment is that? Alf's not smart.
Oh, by the way, so he says they're going to repopulate, or they're going to make a new Melmac, basically, right? So I'm guessing that his home was destroyed at some point, like Superman.
I think so, yeah.
So it's two people, a girl, a guy, and him. They're definitely going to have a three-way then, right? I mean, that's how they're going to repopulate this planet.
That's not the best configuration for that, I don't think.
No, not at all. Maybe the worst configuration.
Well, I can think of one that's not.
That's true. I mean, Max Wright certainly wouldn't call that the worst. But
He's not called Max wrong.
exactly. But yeah. So and then the other thing was, it's like the worst high five ever on film. The two of the guys are like, "Hey, we figured it out," and then they high five each other.
Yeah, I don't this whole like angle was just really dumb. Like the whole, CIA or ALF Force, G. Gordon Liddy.
Yeah,
American.
exactly. So
Like I don't. They were really. This whole episode was very. I think the whole show must have been this bad. I don't remember it being this bad. It was a very bad episode.
it was really bad. I understand why it was canceled.
Like it took, even though I knew this was like it ends in a really like fucked up way because it's like a family like wacky show. Because eventually they like kind of like they entrap Alf. I don't remember. There's something happens between that. I don't really care though. I mean it's not a good show.
Yeah,
it took a huge effort to pay any attention to this because it was so.
Yeah, exactly. But as they drive him out there, his friends show up. The alien task force shows up, and then I guess they see them, and instead of like dropping down a lifeline or beaming him up or whatever the hell they do, they just fuck off. They're just like, "Well, fuck you, Alf," and they just leave. And these
Would it be great if they had just like killed the police, like just for this show? Just like such a dark twist. And Alf just goes, "That's what I think of you people." And he gets in, and then they fly away.
yeah,
So I think if they ended like that, that would be the best episode of Alf.
that would have been the best ending ever. But yeah, so they just leave, and then these guys go around surrounding Alf. Alf tries to ask him about the Lakers. They don't say anything. They just stare at him. It's so weird. And then the episode ends on a cliffhanger, and then they never made another episode of the show again. And then in 1996, they made a horrible movie where the Tanners didn't exist, but they shipped them off to Iceland. So they knew. The creators of the show knew, Paul Fusco or whatever, knew that Scandinavia was a hellhole because they shipped them off there.
That's how much you hated him.
Yeah.
I mean, he's kind of right. Do you need anybody else but Alf in the show?
No. No, I mean, he was the star, clearly.
Yeah, I was shocked that the guy, I think the Paul Fusco guy, I was shocked he or Alf weren't billed like at the beginning in the credits. I was waiting for it, but it never like said, and Alf is Alf, or something like that. Which I think if I had to bet on it, I would bet that he would have put Alf as Alf because that guy's a fucking weirdo.
Yeah, absolutely. Really, like some of the stories you told me about him, just really messed up.
Yeah, I don't know. It's odd.
But that is our episode for the day. Follow us on social media, Massive Late Fee, everywhere you can find it. Come back next week for more dumpster diving. Tell some friends about the show. You want to say anything, Mike?
I heard that guy killed a prostitute.
Paul Fusco.
Oh no, this is some other guy.
Oh, okay. Just an unrelated guy.
Yeah, I mistook it. Yeah, I have nothing to say. See you next time.
All right, bye.